And now we are creating laws that are encouraging parents to report their teachers, to spy on teachers, to try to lure teachers into teaching something that can be used against them, and encouraging students to do this to their teachers. This is an environment that's not conducive for learning. I know you have children. I have a daughter.
I mean, teaching white kids that they should eschew their whiteness because whiteness is evil, I would argue, is not a conducive learning environment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's giantly racist.
And this is what annoys me too about this argument. Like, they keep bringing up like this, oh, they're teaching the kids to rat out their teachers. Like, okay, you would want the kid to do that if the teacher was, saying some racist shit. Teaching
that the Holocaust didn't happen. You'd be like, what? Why didn't you rat out that fucking teacher?
Yeah, no, that's the perfect example. If their kid came home and said, my teacher said the Holocaust didn't happen, and they ratted them out, all these fucking people would be like, yes, this kid's a hero from a ticker tape parade. So they don't have a problem. And my point is that they don't have a problem with the tactic. And it's so weird. And both sides do this. They like hyper focus on the tactic, like, oh, they're ratting them out. The tactic is so bad, but it's like, you don't care about the tactic. You just care that the way the tactic is being used, you fear it's being used against you. Yeah. That's the problem.
Yeah. No principles.
Now,
I send my daughter to school to get an education that doesn't simply confirm her worldview, but that challenges her, that makes her think differently about the world, that brings different perspectives.
That's such bullshit. That's such utter bullshit. Because if they went to school, and she was taking a class from Richard Spencer that wanted to teach his perspective, that challenged her perspective of the world. I don't think Hannah Nicole Jones would be all up here.
Well, we don't even have to go to Richard.
Yeah.
I said we don't have to go to the extreme of Richard Spencer. You just say, okay, what if James Lindsay is going to be teaching, your anti-CRT class?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. No, they don't want that. They listen, this is a fight over how we are going to indoctrinate our kids.
Right.
Yeah. We all have to orient ourselves on the same page. We have to be in agreement.
Yes.
We have to subscribe to a narrative together. At one time it was always a religious narrative. Jesus died for our sins. We're all going to heaven. Great. Let's all get along, right? Let's forgive one another.
Right.
These narratives have other. Yeah, these narratives have side effects. The forgiveness thing. I was raised Christian, but I'm not a believer. I don't believe in God. But I believe in forgiveness. I definitely believe in forgiveness. You need forgiveness for a society to function, and forgiveness carrying grudges and revenge fantasies for long periods of time, not healthy. You don't have to be Jordan Peterson to know that ain't healthy. Okay. Right. So there are if you're a Christian and you believe forgiveness is good, that's good for society. There are going to be people who aren't Christian, but we still need to teach them forgiveness is good. How do we do it? Right. Believing you live in a society where everything is stacked against you and there's no way in hell you can get ahead. That's going to be a huge demotivation for a lot of people. And that's not good. You want your people to feel that they can get ahead. You don't want them to feel like they're living in North Korea where, there is no future. There's no hope of, starting a business or developing some revolutionary new app or starting a YouTube channel, doing whatever it is they want to do. Whatever is going to be the adventure of their life. I'm going to be a movie maker. I'm going to write books. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be an attorney. I'm going to be a civil rights attorney. Whatever they want to do, right? You want them to have that aspiration. How do you have that? How do you get the next civil rights attorney with Hannah Nicole Smith? Hannah Nicole Jones.
Nicole Jones.
Hannah Nicole Smith is another very famous person. I don't know if you know.
Yes.
But anyway, it's Anna Nicole Smith. Anyway, Hannah Nicole Jones. How do you get the next big civil rights attorney if you're living in a world where most people don't have any aspiration because they think society's stacked against them.
Mm-hmm.
I just, even if you have, and we've talked about this before, the most motivated people who are like, fuck that, society is against me, but I'm gonna succeed anyway. I'm the Frederick Douglass type, right? I don't care that they're slaves. I'm gonna succeed. I'm that type. Why would you want only those people to succeed? Why would you want to take away the opportunity for the people who are, maybe a little less inclined to try if they think society is stacked against them? When you could just teach them, you got a shot too. What's wrong with that? I don't know. What is wrong with that? Why are they so dead set against that? Even if it's untrue, I'm curious why you would put this, demotivator fuel into the entire system.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Because fuck you, we gotta turn it down. Socialism. Mm-hmm. Bring on the race Marxism.
Okay. It's just complete ideology.
Yeah.
When we hear these laws are for parents, it's very clear which parents. They're not talking about Black and brown parents. They're not talking about progressive white parents. They're not talking about parents of children who are queer. They're talking about one particular type of parent who they are putting on top and favoring over every other parent. This is not the sign, like I said, of a healthy democracy. And Timothy Snyder, in the piece that he wrote,
I wish we had a competent interviewer who wasn't just a fucking pushover here.
Yeah.
Who would push back and say, listen, tell me how the American narrative is against marginalized people. Right. Well, Black and brown and LGBT. Tell me how.
Public schools are public schools. Okay. Nicole Hannah Jones wants to take her kid to some fucking woke private school. Fucking do that. Okay.
Yeah. Do it.
We're talking about public schools here, and public schools have to be built on the compromises of public opinion.
Yes.
Okay. It means, and this is what people want. People don't want their public schools to be saying crazy shit in either direction. They want pretty moderate beliefs going on in their public schools. That's the compromise here. If you want extreme views, go to a private school.
Right.
So fuck off. We're going to have a horrible, moderate, fence-sitting, centrist take on our public schools. That's the fucking way it's going to be, because everyone has to compromise on this stuff.
You want Malcolm X? Take your kid to Malcolm X High. Okay.
There you go.
For the New York Times Magazine, really cites these laws as memory laws. And he says that you see these types of laws being passed in countries that are veering towards authoritarianism. And so when you put that Hand in hand with all of the anti-voting laws that are being passed right now, the laws against women's reproductive rights, you see that this is part of a larger strategy that turns Americans against each other, that uses the original wedge issue of race in order to justify.
And then to accuse the Republicans of using race as a wedge issue. What? Insanity.
Policies that are becoming increasingly anti-democratic.
Yeah, we should note the sort of one of the most striking examples of this, which came through today, is a county in Tennessee that has banned mouse in schools. That's, of course, the Pulitzer Prize-winning graphic novel about the Holocaust.
They were so thirsty. They were so thirsty for this mouse ban. They're like, if we can tie this mouse ban into the anti-CRT bills, oh my God, we're going to cream our pants. We're going to be so excited. And then it turned out No, it was just some prude on a school board that was like, I don't like that they cursed and talked back to their parents and that there was suicide and nudity in it. I think we should teach about the Holocaust, but it should not be like through this book.
Right.
And they said, okay.
Right. Yeah. There's a big difference between banning one book that mentions the Holocaust or even deals with the Holocaust subject and banning all books about the Holocaust.
I know.
Yeah.
It's so disgusting.
Which I should note had a profound effect on me as a kid. I know many, many people for whom that book was seminal, but mind-blowing. I mean, one of the most effective.
Seminal is such a weird word because it's based on semen. Did you know that?
I thought it was based on the Seminole Indians.
No.
I don't know.
Based on Seminole.
Interesting. Like, was it mean root?
The seminal book because it, it spawned a bunch of different ideas, just like semen does. Just like semen spawns.
There you go.
Yeah. It was seminal for him.
Exciting. Chris Hayes had some seminal transmissions, some nocturnal seminals at night.
Masterpieces of historical education for kids. And,
is this mouse book good? I've never read it.
I've actually never read it.
Should I check it out? I feel like
I've never read it now.
Missing out on the culture here.
I've read so much like Holocaust stuff growing up.
Oh yeah,
as
I
a
know.
Jew that
I'm
really sick of it. Yeah.
Sitch, one more Holocaust story.
No,
just one more.
I've had enough.
Again, it comes down to whether the question of who will get a veto over the sensibilities of a curriculum, which again, I want to be very clear, and I think you would agree, that stuff's always going to be contested. I mean, part of the point of the 1619 project, I think, is that there's no settled question here. It's going to be contested, but the question of who controls what is allowed in the parameters of discussion.
Yeah, you're fucking elected officials. What do you mean who is the mysterious force, the shadowy conspiracy force that's dictating what our children learn? Oh, it could be the fucking public people you vote on, you asshole. Like,
the
what
school
the hell?
board. Yeah.
The school, go out and win elections. What are you talking about?
Local election turnout is going to be huge over the whole critical race theory thing.
Yeah, but not in favor of the Democrats.
Yeah. Which the Republicans have been this is like a dream issue for the Republicans. They're going to be like, every single Republican is voting in the local elections now.
That's what's really going on here. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
they know that this is going to drive Republicans to the polls, and the Democrats, it's not going to give a fuck about it because most Democrats either don't care about the CRT shit. Like, I don't, okay. Well, if you're complaining that we can't teach that our country was founded upon the universal principles and the Declaration of Independence, what's wrong with that? I don't understand. Like, the normie doesn't understand why this is a problem, Chris. So they have to hype up, the further left wing MSNBC voters to go, oh, spread the word. They're trying to make us so you can't teach about racism. You're not going to be able to show roots with Jory LaForge in class anymore. Okay.
Yeah, such.
Poor Kunta Kinte is going to be thrown out because it's going to make some poor white kids feel uncomfortable, which is a total lie, by the way.
Yeah.
Discussion ends up being what we're seeing on display here now.
Absolutely. Trust me, there were books that I read when I was a student or that we were assigned when I was a student that I wasn't comfortable with. There are texts always that parents don't agree with, and parents have a say. Parents have always had a say. People have always contested what students are learning. But what we're seeing now is quite different. To see state legislatures actually prohibiting ideas that they don't like, to say you can't even talk about this country as fundamentally racist. What if
state legislatures are preventing ideas you don't like?
You can't even talk about this country as fundamentally racist. How do you even establish that claim? That's a pretty wild claim, right?
Teacher doesn't even believe that it's true, but it's just saying this is a school of thought that other Americans believe in, or there's an entire.
Nobody listen. Nobody's arguing that you can't have conversations about that. I'm under the impression that I mean, the book was titled A New Origin Story for America. Aren't you trying to make that the standard?
Listen, my Pulitzer Prize winning article in the New York Times cannot be read. It's being trapped in the back closet of the front page of the New York Times. Okay.
Right. It's not. Oh yeah. It's
area of study that you can no longer introduce students to. That is not the type of education that we should be wanting for our children. And Chris, these laws are not only about K-12. For instance, in Wisconsin, the legislature there is considering one of these anti-CRT laws that would also prohibit the 1619 Project and critical race theory from being taught at the college level. That is obscene, but that is where we are in this country. We are not just seeing this in southern states. I know people like to write off the South as somehow uniquely backwards. That's not the case. We are seeing this spread all across the country. This is a moral panic, and moral panics are always very dangerous. Yeah. I find it perplexing, but I will say what I so appreciated about your opening was I think parents and students are waking up. The opposition who has pushed for these laws has been extremely well organized. But I think seeing now community starting to fight back.